recording?
Oh, it's live. It's just pre-recorded, taped live, I should say.
Oh, okay.
So there's no chat, so only certain people. So no one can see us through this chat.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Richard Kenobi. And as you all know, I am one of a member of a certain podcast that you should all go check out. But I decided for the purposes of my channel, I've wanted to bring this show back for a long time, where I used to interview YouTubers that I would tell my subscribers to go check out. I unfortunately abandoned it because nobody liked it. But I thought, you know what? After seeing my first guest's videos for months and months, I thought, let's bring it back and let's give her the support she deserves. The one and only EyeofSol.
Hello.
Now, for those of you who do not know, EyeofSol is an animation reviewer. She does a lot of great reviews on cartoons you probably have grown up seeing from your childhood. She also does movie reviews. She also does live stream, gameplay reviews. She does everything you can ask for, and she's a hardworking YouTuber, and so she will be my first guest, and I all want you to please go and check out her channel. Please give her the support to get her to 10,000 subscribers.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So, again, it's an honor to have you here, Sol. As I said, I'm gushing, so I apologize. You and Phantom Strider have great content, and I actually loved how you guys got to work together.
Yeah, Phantom Strider. I like working with Phantom Strider. He's bud, super nice.
Well, that's
I'm hoping
good.
We can do something together again in the future too. Like we did the live stream. I did like this weird background voice for one of his videos. So
yeah. Oh, that was nice. So for most people who don't know you, so what made you want to be on YouTube and specifically tackle animation reviewing, like reviewing cartoons that people have seen, but also make your own original story, because you don't just do the bare bones. You also have an original story.
Yeah. Well, I started as a Twitch live streamer, actually, because boredom. I was just so bored, and I was like, well, I like playing video games. This newfangled Twitch thing is pretty cool. Why don't I give it a try? So, you know, I just tried it at first. The first game I live streamed actually was oh fuck! It is like the Hamtaro Game Boy Advance game. I used to play it all the time, like Heartbreak something. With like the devil hamster. I never liked Hamtaro, but I liked the Hamtaro Game Boy and Game Boy Advance game. So I was like, okay, let's just play that. And the audio was so high, like it was like screaming basically. So like 2 or 3 people came and watched, and they're like, we can't hear you. Your audio is too high. But anyway, so I kept trying. And I had like about 400 followers on Twitch, and they were like, you should start a YouTube show. And I was like, nah, because it requires talent, and I'm just sitting here with playing video games or whatever. And they're like, do it about video games. And I'm just like, no, because everybody has a channel about video games. It's pointless at this point. And then I thought about it. I was like, you know, I'm still bored. Maybe I should try, you know, and I have like great respect for people like, like James Rolfe and Doug Walker. And before I knew about him, I now have great respect for Alex Aichi, you know, I Hate Everything, and, you know, all these YouTubers that I really respect.
Yes.
So I was like watching Symbionic Titan at the time, because I love cartoons, but I like at the time I was playing more video games, not watching as many cartoons, but I was watching Symbionic Titan at the time, and I'm like, you know, let's try making a video about this. And I don't know shit about editing, okay? Like, I had never used an editing software before except, like, Windows Movie Maker, and I was terrible at it. So I threw together this video, which was not very good. It's one of my most hated videos, but it's the Symbionic Titan, my first one. And I was, like, so nervous on camera, because I'm like, should I be, like, over-exaggerating? Should I be, like, calm and deadpan? And then, you know what? I showed it to a couple friends, and they were like, well, friends. I say that term, not literally, but whatever. I showed it to some people. They were like, oh, this is good. You know, you could improve for sure, but I'd like to see you do another one. And I was like, okay. And then my coworker suggested Rick and Morty to me. I should watch Rick and Morty. So I watched Rick and Morty, and I was like, holy shit, that was great. I should make a video about that. And then it kind of just it just kind of went from there. I was just sort of never stopped making video. At first, it was like making a video every week and a half, but then I wanted to have a schedule so people knew when to show up, and then it was every week. And then I added mini Mondays down the line, and then I added live streams because some of the people from Twitch were like, "Why don't you live stream anymore?" And I'm just like, yeah, so that's pretty much it. So it was part boredom, part wanting to be like the YouTubers and video makers that I respect, and because I just wanted to see if I could do it or not,
Wow, interesting. Well, I definitely say the first video I watched from you was and I know in your Symbiotic Titan, and not a lot of people know this, but just in case you all don't know this, Sol basically, there were certain robot shows that I will not name that she's done, but she brought up good points because I saw a lot of robot shows when I was a kid, and I always wondered, why do we have robot shows? Like, can't we just have other shows based on characters? But one of your reviews that I watched, and I'm happy you made, was your Iron Giant review.
I like that one, yeah.
Yes, like
I like the ending too, getting shot by the demon toddler. That was fun to me.
Yes. It's just like, because I've seen so many people talk about that film, but when I saw your video, I just was like, oh my God, like she's bringing up some great things. And then you mentioned the previous robot shows you've reviewed, and I was just like, yeah, like that's the difference between the Iron Giant and most of these other robot shows. The Iron Giant actually has a personality that makes him feel human, so he has a human quality to him. So I liked how you basically nailed all of those points home, and I just really enjoy watching how you so that's leads into my next question. Like, how do you decide, like, what are you gonna say and what are you gonna do? Like, how much time do you put into making your videos be the best they can be, even if you're feeling like, okay, I've got this to do, I've got that to do, so maybe I can just rush through it? Like, how does the process go for your writing for all of these episodes?
Well, some episodes take longer to make than others, depending on how many episodes of the thing I have to watch. So, like, the production basically begins the moment I start watching the thing. So some of these episodes have production cycles that are like 4 or 5 months long. Like the Adventure Time episode, I started watching Adventure Time in June, and I didn't finish the episode till November. So it can be a long time. But like from a literal, like starting the actual production on the episode point, it's usually about 15 to 35 hours a week, depending on how much like special effects and extra scenes I have to shoot. I don't have time for many reshoots, unfortunately.
Right.
So I try to do everything in one take, just to save time. But yeah, so basically when I'm watching the thing, I'm just making mental notes. I almost never take notes down because I find that it waters down the points that I have to make into bullet points as opposed to actual like complete thoughts. So that can, unless I watch a whole ton of things at once, in which case then I take notes so I don't get confused. But yeah, so take notes or not take notes, whatever. And then I usually write scripts on Mondays or Tuesdays, depending on when I can. I always work till about 5 in the morning because I work best at night. So, yeah, so I work on the script. The scripts usually take me around like an hour to 2 hours, depending on how focused I can stay. Some nights it's just kind of like, ooh, yay! I just can't stay focused on the script. But other nights it's like, just jamming on it because it's like I know exactly what I want to say. But I can't really explain how to write a script. It kind of just comes out the way I think it does,
Yeah.
Like everyone obviously has a different method of expression. I try to be very literal with my expressions, like very descriptive, whereas some people are just kind of like, oh, that was cool, and this is cool, and that was cool. But I try to go like point by point and just try to keep it really focused and clear as to what I'm saying, unless the point is to be vague or something. So yeah, the script is usually Monday or Tuesday, depending on if I feel like it or if I'm working or something. And then principal filming is Tuesdays or Wednesdays. It's been difficult to do principal filming because I've had another character on the show right now with Theta, and he has not been well lately, so it's been difficult to film with him. But then that takes a while, depending on how much there is to shoot, or if it's outdoors, or I have to go on location, or whatever.
Yeah.
And then once I get all the raw footage, then it's recording audio, which maybe takes about an hour or so to edit it and make sure it's good, then dump everything into Adobe Premiere, and just basically, I call it skeletoning. So you skeleton the whole episode, you put it like the framework of the whole episode together. That can take, it really varies. It can take like an hour, it can take like 10 hours. It just depends on how much sound editing there is to do, visual effects, green screen stuff, all that shit. Like there's so many variables. And then usually, I mean, it's either Wednesdays or absolute last chance is Thursdays to like splice the episode, get all the footage from the thing I'm reviewing and put it to the audio. And that can take anywhere between like, I've never seen it take less than 5 hours. So it can be like 5 to 15 hours sometimes of splicing. It usually depends on how much footage there is. So like it's easier to splice a movie because there's little, you know, it's only like an hour and a half long. But if it's a show that has like 100 or more episodes, I have to keep going up and down and getting things and dragging it back. And it's just, so yeah, it's basically the production cycle can be anywhere from 15 to 35 hours.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's a lot to endure, I'm sure, but so far you have proven that you can do it the best. So that is very great. And I definitely think I've always been into animations and script editing myself, but I feel like it just takes a long time. But I feel like people who can dedicate themselves to doing that, they're the strongest. So they can do it so much better than I can. So, but I feel like my question is that, okay, so how do you feel about when you go about reviewing a cartoon? Like, if you have knowledge on this cartoon, like, does it make it easier? Or if you're getting introduced to a new show, do you feel like, okay, I really have to dedicate this mindset to really understand what makes this cartoon ticks, what makes the fan base love it so much, and come to a conclusion, regardless if people either agree or disagree with the outcome on your analysis on how good or bad a show is, depending on your point of view?
Well, fan base has never been okay, so there are some things that I completely omit from my reviewing style. Nostalgia, how much nostalgia it has. So nostalgia to me is not its worth. It's basically just it's delusions to me. So it's like I don't judge it based on how delusional you are about it. Also, I don't judge it based on the fan bases. I know it can be really, really hard to ignore sometimes. Like I stopped watching Steven Universe because I couldn't stand the fan base.
That's understandable.
Yeah, but I don't factor that into my review because that's one reason why I haven't reviewed RWBY, despite it being the most requested anime series, is because I just know that the fan base is going to be like, you didn't say this about this at this specific time, and it's like, this is a general overview, not a picking it apart to death kind of thing. So yeah, no nostalgia, no fan base. That's kind of the only two things I omit from it. But when it comes to like watching an old thing that I've seen a million times and a new thing, when I watch something for review, it's totally different than when I watch it for just fun. So like I was actually planning to review South Park, but I had to bump it off the schedule because reasons. There are a lot of reasons why.
No, it's all right.
I was rewatching South Park, and so when I watch it for fun, I'm just kind of like, oh, this is cool. But when I'm watching it for review, I'm actually looking for things that I can point out that are issues or what's good and what's bad and everything. It's like I'm rewatching Drawn Together, which I've seen a million times. Love that series. But watching it with an actual like analytical eye for review, which I'm not reviewing it. I was planning to, but I had to boot it off the schedule again. Because reasons. And but watching it again, it's like 10 times funnier because I'm actually paying attention to these jokes I've seen a million times. So yeah, it doesn't really matter if I've seen it a whole bunch or if I'm watching it brand new. I always watch, if I'm planning to review it, I'm always watching it in a different way than if I was just watching it for fun.
Right.
So, yeah. Sensei, would you fuck off? You're so cute. No. Sorry, that's what I've been like looking at. He's trying to play with my fucking feet.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, he likes to butt in on the podcasts and interviews and stuff.
Oh, it's all right. Well, that's that's again, very great points. So you brought up RWBY, of course. So I know you've probably gotten asked this a lot. But so it's just cartoons, right? Because if I understand, and as somebody who knows anime, I understand when you have to review anime, it can take forever, and the fan base is always going to come into that. And as you said, you don't do that, but like, have you ever gotten so many requests to review an anime that when you finally do decide to do it, you're just going to try and make it different from your general style for how you do cartoons. Do you have any plans to do that? And or do you just prefer to, like, it's easier for you to stick to cartoons than it is to anime? Because I know anime reviewers are reviewing anime is very hard.
No, I find that they're equally as difficult to make.
Really?
Like, anime is easy for me, actually.
Oh, okay.
Because it's so much anime follows the same formula that it's really easy to formulate thoughts, whereas cartoons can differ very greatly.
Oh.
Anime doesn't differ all that much when it comes to you know, trying to collect your thoughts and express them properly and everything. It's like all the anime that I've reviewed so far, which I've reviewed more cartoons than anime, because my anime reviews are not that popular. Like, only about half of my viewers compared to the... What?
Oh, I was saying, I agree. I think your anime reviews are very popular. Like, and I know some people probably do too. So
no, actually, they're my least popular content next to Mini Mondays.
Oh.
Yeah. Not a single anime review that I've done has broken 10,000 views. But anyway, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying it's easy for me because I don't have to worry about subtitles or anything, because I can watch a lot of anime in raw. You know, I speak Japanese. I understand most of it. So I don't need subtitles or anything. So I can pay attention to the actual story and characters as opposed to just reading subtitles all day long. And I never ever watch dubs. Like, I would rather shove icicles under my toenails than watch dubs. But yeah, so I don't watch a lot of anime that really differs too much. I think the most outlandish anime I ever watched was like this one where the guy had like insane hair. I can't remember what it was called. It started with a B. It was like Blast Racer or something. He's got like rainbow multicolored hair, and he's got this gigantic fucking hair spike, and it goes like this. It's crazy.
That's crazy.
But yeah, my anime tastes don't get too outlandish, so I find it gets repetitive, which is why I don't review as much anime, because it's like, this character is like this, and it was the same as this character last week, and it's just like, it's not fun.
I see.
So that's why I space them out.
Oh, no, that's fine. Well, I just want you to know I'm not trying to I'm trying to sound very nice, but I'm not trying to sound too nice. Again, even if it's not your most popular, it's still nice to do anime and still try and do something, even though it's not heavily requested nor popular. It's something you still like doing. So that should never be considered something that's not worth doing. But I definitely still like on how you do them on occasions. Yeah,
I know. That's what I'm saying. I like doing anime.
Yes.
But the observations get too repetitive if I do it too much.
That's understandable.
And yeah, if I make content that people don't want to watch, then they just won't watch it, you know? So I want to make content that people will actually watch and enjoy. So, you know, I try to cater to everyone, basically. So one week I cater to the anime fans, and one week I give it to the cartoon fans. I don't know if I'll ever do a month-long anime event. I might do a Yu-Gi-Oh! Month somewhere down the line. I have no idea. But, like, the month-long events are better for cartoons. Actually, no, I did the Final February, which was, like, anime. So
oh, wow.
But that was my least popular month-long event of all time, so, yeah.
That's interesting. Again, very interesting points. Well, my next question is, this is kind of a big one, but, okay, so... After seeing all of these cartoons, regardless if you've seen them before or if this is your first time getting into them, like, what are your thoughts on, okay, when you do a cartoon and then afterwards, like, does the cartoon stick with you? And if it's a cartoon you remember seeing from your childhood and you get to review it again, like, does something change inside when you're writing your review? Like, maybe you notice something that you haven't noticed before, or maybe you're just like, it's just as good as it ever was, so it's still worth the watch, in your opinion?
Not really. I'm pretty much immune to nostalgia. I mean, that makes me kind of a bitter, sad person, but, you know, like, yeah, I think that's kind of what makes it easier to review things, is that I'm not constantly blinded by nostalgia. And if I do feel nostalgic about something, I'll flat out admit it. Yes. I'll be like, I might be biased in this. It's like how in my Professor Layton and the Eternal Diva review, I flat out said I'm probably biased about this because I've been playing for the Professor Layton games for so long and I adore them and everything. So I said I want to give this movie like 1 billion eyes out of 5, but it's like, okay, just have to not do that. So But no, you know what? Normally, I find that my opinions don't change much over time. I don't know if it's just because I've been reviewing stuff my whole life and just not been aware of it.
Yeah.
It's like how I enjoyed the Powerpuff Girls as much as a kid as I do now. I can notice what's wrong with it, but still enjoy it.
Absolutely.
So no, I don't think my opinions change much in that regard.
Absolutely. Well, here's also a question that I know, because when I saw your Young Justice review, and again, I loved it, but I also wanted to know, so as someone who does mostly animation cartoon reviews, like, what are your opinions on comic book shows? Like, I know you have said that you've heard of some of these shows and they've been requested a lot, but when you finally watch or review a comic book animated show, like, do you feel like that's a game changer? Like, okay, it's not like cartoons, like there's actual three-dimensional character depth and there's a lot of things that makes this still a cartoon, but it doesn't make it a zany and wacky cartoon like Animaniacs or Freakazoid or something like that.
No, I mean, it's just kind of, if it has good characters, it has good characters. It doesn't matter to me if it's superheroes. I watched Young Justice because it was heavily requested and also because it looked like it might be interesting. Like, I would say I'm more into DC than Marvel, in all honesty. Like, I like both. I'm not a comic book fanboy, but in terms of, like,
all right. I am too. You're not alone.
Yeah, like, in terms of familiarity, I'm just a little bit more familiar with, like, the DC lineup than the Marvel one, even though I don't like the DC movies at all. Like,
yeah,
there's like, I love The Dark Knight, and that's about it. Like,
okay, that's understandable. Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, so superhero shows and movies and stuff, they don't differ in any way to me. It's if the characters are good, then they're good. If they're bad, they're bad. It doesn't matter if they're, like, from something. It doesn't matter to me if the Joker comes sauntering in to the scene and he's wearing like an outfit from, like, Ultimate Comics issue 27, page 12 or something. It's just like, well, is the Joker the Joker? Yes. That's what's important to me. So basically, if the story is bad, then I'll call it out for being bad, even if it's from something else.
Right.
Or vice versa. If it's good, I'll say it's good, even if it's from something else. It doesn't. But, you know, I watch because I don't read comic books. I like watching like Linkara, because he basically reads the comic book for me, and then I can just sort of absorb the information from it.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, like, I don't watch comic book reviewers except for Linkara, because I find him. I find the way he, like, experiences the comic is very funny and interesting, and that way I can sort of absorb it into the nerd osmosis without having to read the actual comic book, because I can't afford buying all those comic books, and I don't have any room for them.
I don't think anybody could, unless you're a billionaire. Then you can afford all the comics you want.
Yeah, so I like comic books, but I don't read them. I read manga, but I don't really read manga as much as I used to, because I run out of space, and also it's really expensive to keep up with the manga line.
Yeah.
So, meh, whatever.
Wow, that's good. Well, do you have, like, if you were to go back to reviewing another popular requested DC animated show, I guess now, like, if you had to pick, like, even if it wasn't requested, like, if you had to pick which DC animated show or film you wanted to review because it's your decision, which one would that be, just out of curiosity? Because I've always wanted to hear your opinions on Batman the Animated Series, and
I was going to say that one, actually.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Wow. Great minds think alike.
Yeah, either Batman the Animated Series, or Mask of the Phantasm, so both.
Okay.
Or one of the newer ones, like the Justice League cartoons. Or the cartoon. I don't see. This is the thing. I don't want to sound like a moron, because I just don't.
No, don't worry.
But yeah, like the recent Justice League cartoon, I'd like to see. I know they've got, like, a Supergirls cartoon coming out that looks really fucking stupid.
Oh yes.
It looks like they're trying to turn Supergirls into, like, My Little Pony-esque stuff.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's made for girls, but it'll appeal to, like, middle-aged guys.
Yeah, it's all of the DC heroines and villains, except they're all in this school, and yeah, it's a very My Little Pony-ish kind of vibe. I agree with that. I personally don't like that either. I don't either. I've never liked that sort of thing.
Why put characters in school? School is the most boring fucking place on the planet. It's like when they did the fucking chibi version of Shingeki no Kyojin and they put him in school, and I'm just like, what the fuck did you do? Like, I get that in Japan they like that sort of stuff, but I'm just like, how can you take this great premise and these characters and all the violence and the tension and just be like, just throw him into school and make him cute? It's
exactly, yes, and just to sell more toys as well, because that's what kind of bugs me, is that they took Supergirl, Wonder Woman, Batgirl, Harley Quinn. They pretty much took all the interesting things about them, put them down to little cutish looking character designs that's easy to draw, and then have it be catering to the girl demographic, but mostly make merchandise out of it. I agree. I don't like that.
I hate that female demographic to like studios and production people and everything equals idiots.
Exactly.
Like, for male demographic, it's like, okay, we need to have like explosions and great characters and awesome premises. With girls, it's like, how much can we sell to these fucking retarded idiot girls? You know?
Absolutely.
I hate that female demographic equals idiot to them.
Yes, exactly. That's why one of my personal female superhero live action shows is Supergirl, because
they're filming that in my area, actually, in the Lower
Oh,
Main.
wow, that's cool. Like, that is so cool. Yes, and it's like you said, that show does not treat the female demographic like idiots. It inspires them, and it makes them say, I like this character. Like, this is who I want to be, even though I don't have superpowers. So, yes, I agree. I definitely think girl animated shows should be like the male demographic shows. Like, have a balance, but again, I mean, I agree with that. So, yes, but that would be very interesting to see you kind of rip into, even though I know it'd be a pain in the ass to watch.
Yeah, like, I can't think of a single show that's purely for a female demographic that would come above being slightly above average. Like, I can't think of anything that's for girls, or animated that's for girls, that would be considered stellar, like really standout animation.
Yes.
I seriously can't.
Yeah, the closest thing that comes to mind is the aforementioned Powerpuff Girls, because that
wasn't made for girls.
No, it wasn't. But see, that's the ironic thing. The studios treat it as it is, and I don't agree with that. I think the Powerpuff Girls, and I don't know whenever you do plan to do a review on this, but I think like that's what the problem was. They decided to take the Powerpuff Girls and just market it and merchandise it to girls instead of all audiences, because this is how it works and this is how it still goes to this day.
Yeah, well, the original Powerpuff Girls show wasn't made for girls. It was just sort of made for everybody.
Yes.
But then the fucking studio idiots were like, duh, it stars girls, so let's make it for girls. And then, of course, it becomes shit because it's for girls, and girls, you know, are idiots, so they don't care. They just want to see pretty, shiny unicorn sticker bubblegum stuff. They don't care about good characters or story because they're women, and their ovaries blind them from being smart like men.
Yes.
You know, fuck women and all that.
Yes, I agree. Like, but given how animation shows have come a long way since then, there is still hope, I believe, in my opinion, that there is still hope that maybe one day some studio, depending on who it is, will give the female demographic a great show that doesn't have to be cute or. And I'm a brony. I am a fan of MLP, but even I agree that I would like to see a show just for the female demographic that can be just as well written, and just as great as the male demographic shows. Like, maybe one day.
Yeah, women don't have their BoJack Horseman. They don't have their Gravity Falls.
No.
Like, dudes have the best cartoons.
Yes, but I'm under the belief that everybody deserves to get a great cartoon. Regardless if you're a boy or a girl, you deserve to have a great cartoon, and you deserve to be treated as equals. That's how I always believe it. But, well, speaking, again, of Powerpuff Girls, like, so what are your thoughts on the reboots on some of these shows from your childhood, seeing where these reboots have come and how they have just screwed up, in my opinion, and most people's opinion, they have screwed up what made those cartoons great in the first place. And if you ever decided to review some of these reboots that people hate, or you just get requested to review them, like, which one would you rather pick? I know I would never ask you to review Teen Titans Go because...
Oh, but I will. Trust me, I will.
Oh, okay.
Eventually. It's high on my list, but I'm having trouble getting assets for it. So until I can actually get all the assets I need for the episode, it's not going to happen.
Oh, okay.
But this is not going to say it's not going to happen. I'm just saying it's a difficult one to get.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, that's good. That's very... Oh, sorry.
Okay, so I just want to say right off the bat that my childhood is not sacred. Nobody's childhood is sacred. So just because you watched or played or saw or heard something in your childhood does not make it sacred. People can do what they want because money is a thing and people always want to get it. So if someone's going to take a franchise that you liked as a kid and do something with it so they don't lose the rights, so they make money,
yes,
go right ahead. You know, it's like they're making a Castlevania anime. That's cool. Even if they screw it up, it's like, well, at least you tried. So just because it existed at the time when you were a kid, it doesn't make it sacred or anything. So I hate when people are like, you killed my childhood.
Yes, absolutely.
But what I will not stand for is a lack of respect. So that is why I hate the Powerpuff Girls reboot. I haven't actually watched any episodes, to be honest. I've never seen a full episode all the way through, but I hate it anyway because the clips that I've seen are so disrespectful to what Powerpuff Girls was about.
Yes.
It's disrespectful to the creator, who, I to be fair, he did give Cartoon Network the rights, so it's not entirely their fault, but it's disrespectful to his creation because they're like, hey, we have these interesting, well, maybe not like super interesting, but we have these like interesting girl characters who can kick ass, but you know, they have like conflicts between them. Let's just like meme it up. Let's do the memes because the kids like the memes. You know, so yeah, anything that gets my fucking rage going is a lack of respect. And that's why I hated Pinky, Elmira, and the Brain too, is that it could have, it's kind of just like, you know, when you watch it, it's like, meh, what else is on TV kind of thing.
Yes.
But it's the fact that they were so disrespectful to the creator's wishes, how disrespectful they were to the concept, the characters, is because, to me, an intellectual property is more than just like a money-making machine. When you create a character, they become real to people. So it's like taking a real person and doing that shit with them, you know, torturing them and putting them in situations where they don't want to be in. Not to say it doesn't happen to real people, but I think that's what a lot of studios and production companies miss, is that when you create a character, it becomes real in the hearts of people. You know, it means a lot more to them than they might think, because to them, all they see is money. You know, they're just like, how much money can this make? And that's why I love Batman or the Dark Knight so much, is because they took this concept and they could have just been like, let's just make money with it. But instead, they took this character and treated him with respect because he's so real to people. And that's what I like. So basically what I'm saying is you can do whatever you want with an intellectual property. You can reboot it as many times as you fucking want. I don't care. But you have to show respect for it. If you don't respect it, then don't even bother.
Yes, absolutely. And on the Powerpuff Girls reboot, I've been a Powerpuff Girls fan myself, so honestly, and back in the days when I heard about this, I was shocked that there was a show that starred 3 little girls kicking ass and showing they can be just as powerful or even sometimes relatable to superheroes. And there were bumpers of them being paired up with the Justice League, and I thought that's cool. The Justice League is is shocked that there are little girls that save the world, and I liked that, and I was not ashamed or embarrassed to be a fan of the show because it was meant for everybody. And I thought, this is what I want. This is always what I want. And if a reboot ever did happen, I agree. You need to have respect. You can do whatever you want with it. You can change up the art style. You can cast new voice actors. You can get new writers, new talent. You can do whatever you want, but you have to show respect to what has come before it. Otherwise, it just feels like you're pissing on people's not nostalgia and not childhood, because when people say you screwed or killed my childhood, that shows you never had a childhood to begin with. Basically, you're just ruining something that was good. And this is why I don't know what your thoughts on it is. This is why I'm personally looking forward to the new DuckTales, and this is why I like Disney cartoons more than Cartoon Network shows, because people have been bringing this up, and I actually like to hear your take on this. Disney understands their shows, and they treat all of them, even if they're reboots, they treat them with the respect they deserve, and they make it I know, not always, of course.
I disagree with that, but yeah.
Yeah, well, of course, absolutely. I'm not saying Disney is completely innocent. Absolutely not. Disney is just as guilty as studios like Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon, in my opinion. But I want to know your thoughts. Like, so what are your thoughts on the new DuckTales reboot? And do you think, like, okay, maybe this could wake studios up, and maybe if we ever do get another reboot of an old show, like, maybe they can learn something from how you're supposed to do reboots justice?
I don't care about the DuckTales reboot. I never saw the original cartoon. I heard the theme song a million times, but I've never seen I've never seen more than like 1 or 2 episodes of the cartoon, so I just don't care. But as you know what, I will care to see them treat it with respect, like I said. But if they don't, well, it's kind of like, well, I can't get all up in a tizzy about it because it's like I never watched the original show to begin with. To me, something that would piss me off is if they. It's like, I'm just trying to think of things that I like. Okay, it's like if they took Legend of Zelda and they made another cartoon about it, but instead of it being about Link in Hyrule saving the land from Ganon, you know, what Legend of Zelda is about, they made him into like a streetwise black rapper with a talking dog, and they put him in like 1960s Harlem, New York, and they just called it Legend of Zelda. It's like that. Well, fuck you. You know, that's not Legend of Zelda. And yeah, you're allowed to experiment, but that you can't call it Legend of Zelda if it's not Legend of Zelda, you know? Yes. So that sort of thing. So yeah, with the DuckTales reboot, it's like, well, if you do it right, good for you. If you don't, I don't really care. It's the same thing with the Ben 10 reboot. People keep saying over and over and over again, you did all the other Ben 10 shows. Why don't you do that one? It's like, I'm so fucking sick of talking about Ben 10.
Yes, absolutely.
It looks ugly. Like, the art design looks atrocious to me. His ears are fucking huge, and I hate it.
Yes, I hate that character design as well.
Yeah, and I never liked Ben 10 anyway, so why would you want to just... It's like, when I do a whole month of me just ripping into shit, like with the Sonic-tacular, they're like, why did you bother doing this? You didn't like it to begin with. And then when I don't do the things that people think I'll hate, they're like, why don't you do this? I bet you'll hate it. It's like, what do you guys want from me? You know?
Yes, exactly.
Do you want me to hate things or do you not want me to hate things? It's like, come on, man. Yeah, so I get a lot of shit from the Sonic-tacular saying, like, you shouldn't have done this, you just hate it. But it's like, but I didn't hate all of it. Okay, yes, I like Sonic X, some things about it. It wasn't perfect. So yeah, I actually discovered something Sonic related that I thought wasn't too bad. You know, I watched the whole thing. It wasn't that bad. The Japanese version, not the English version. That one can suck a fat cock.
I've interviewed and I'm friends with the current voice actor of Dr. Eggman, and he gave me some interesting facts about the Japanese version and the dub version. But yes, I agree with what you're saying. Like, if people expect you to hate a cartoon and ask you why did you do it, but they don't listen to the fact that you just said you didn't hate all of it, and I completely can relate to that. And it's like you're saying that yes, if you do a cartoon, you can, because a cartoon, once it becomes once it sells merchandise and once it gets ratings and once people relate and love these characters, it can be rebooted 1,000 more times, even after every one of us who originally saw it are long gone. It's timeless now, and that's why the biggest examples of shows that have been rebooted over and over again is Ben 10, Looney Tunes, so many other shows that have been rebooted. Like, some of them have been good, some of them have been bad, but it still stays the same. If you fuck up something like that, then obviously you don't understand what made it perfect in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Or that's not entirely true. I mean, the creators could have every intention to be respectful to the source material or whatever, but there's a lot of things that can cause it to be fucked up. Like studio interference is a big one, where they're like, we need you to put this shit in it so it sells toys or whatever. Or we don't want this character to be like, you know, have a moral gray area. We want it to be straightforward, good and evil stuff, that's why I kind of like anime more than cartoons in ways, because there isn't so much interference with it. It's like people can tell stories with anime. Sure, they're not always original, but they can tell stories without so much interference, because most of them are spawned from manga, which doesn't have studio interference or anything. It's just kind of like, well, we'll take the story and we'll put it on the screen for you. There you go. Whereas with cartoons, it always feels like everyone has to put their hands in it. I say the best cartoons, in my opinion, are the ones where you can see the least amount of hands on it. It's like, yeah, with Gravity Falls, with BoJack Horseman, with Rick and Morty, all these cartoons, you can see so few hands on it that it just makes it, like, great. This is the way they wanted it to be, without any interference. But then you see cartoons like fucking, oh, I don't know, there's so many of them. Like, all these, like, crappy cash grab, like, banking off of, like, existing popularity cartoons where you could just see so many hands in it. It basically, a cartoon should be like a good dip. You only want 1 or 2 hands in it at one time. You don't want everyone dipping in it, or else it's like,
you
don't
always
want that
have
anymore.
to have creative freedom. I agree with that, yes.
Yeah, but you can't give them too much creative freedom, or else then you get where the dead go to die.
Yes, absolutely. I'm under the impression that when somebody's making something, give them enough creative freedom, but not too much creative freedom. There needs to be a balance there. So I agree with you on that.
If you give them too much creative freedom, then you get the Phantom Menace. But just briefly going back to the lack of respect sort of thing, there also has to be guidelines in terms of respect. You know, like, if you're gonna adapt something, don't make it like this fucking thing. This is a DVD that I got. I'm planning to do something fun with it. It's got 10 rip-off Disney princess movies on it. Its sole purpose is to, you know, steal from Disney. Yes. Yeah, it's all Disney. Except for one of them. One of them I've never heard of before. But to steal from Disney, this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about a lack of respect. Okay, like, this is worse than a reboot with no respect. This is just stealing from people. And I know that these are fairy tales that, like, you know, they exist, but this is like stealing in a whole, it's just fucking ridiculous. I don't know. I just wanted to show this DVD since we were on the topic.
Thank you. Yes, again, but there's one show that I think recently this year, you of course did a review on it for its final season, is Samurai Jack. And that kind of fits into this topic that we're talking about, but do you feel like other shows should be like that? Because what I'm trying to ask is, like, okay, so everyone for 13 years wanted Samurai Jack to come back because it never got the proper conclusion it deserved, but a lot of people were afraid if it was to ever come back in any kind of form, it would not live up to what they wanted. So that is why it took as long as it did. But when it finally did come back, it, like, blew up the entire world. Like, we felt like we were in the early 2000s, where cartoons like this that had great artistics, great characters, great music. Like, this was a cartoon that nobody had seen before since 2000 or 2001 to be specific. So do you feel like, okay, if a continuation were to ever occur again with an old popular show that was either canceled or fans just want back, or even for the whole lack of respect, do you think they should follow some of these guidelines in how you do just a cartoon show or anime in that case in particular? Like, do you think, like, okay, watch and look at this show, for instance, look at how it takes everything and makes it right. There's barely anything bad to say about it.
Well, I disagree, actually. You know, the more I think back to the ending of Samurai Jack with season 5, the more I'm just like, what the fuck was that? You know, I was pretty chill on it in my Mini Mondays follow-up. I was just kind of like, yeah, it had paradoxes, but you know, I just kind of wanted it to be over at that point. But now that I have had time to, like, think about it, it's like, what the fuck? You know, like, what the fuck? And they're like, quit whining. No, but I think that is actually a good guideline as to how to finish something off. Get the original creators if they're still willing to do it. Don't force them to come back if they don't want to come back. So if the original creators want to come back and do it, have them come back. Doesn't matter what they want, like, pay-wise, just give it to them, okay? And also, make sure you go back and watch what you already did. Doesn't matter how long it takes, just do it. You can't just continue from where you left off without remembering what you did, because then you might accidentally open up plot holes and continuity errors and shit like that. And again, just be respectful about it. Which is why I think, the more I think about it, it's like Ashi at first didn't really piss me off too much with the whole romance thing. But again, now that I've had more time to think about it, it's like, this is what I was going to say. I was actually going to go into big rage mode on Mini Mondays, but I just wasn't feeling it. I just kind of was like, I wanted to get this over with.
Right.
But yeah, it's like Samurai Jack was always a show about a loner samurai, not a loner, a lone samurai who was fighting evil. It was a pure good versus evil story. He doesn't need a love interest, and it's obvious that
I agree with that.
It's obvious that whoever decided on that ending thought so too, because look, he ended up alone in the end. But that whole thing is like, you could have just taken out the whole Ashi thing entirely and nothing would have changed. You could have just, like, I said this in the Mini Mondays review, why wasn't the last episode just 22 minutes of Jack fighting Aku, beating each other down until the last scrap of, you know what it should have been? It should have been like Superman Doomsday. It should have been two titans fighting each other until the very end, and both of them die in the end. Yes. That's how you do it. It should have been like Superman Doomsday. It didn't hit me until just now. It should have been like that. But it wasn't. It was just kind of like, Ashi is the one who got the spotlight in the end. And it's like, who the fuck are you? We want to see Jack fight Aku, not Ashi.
Exactly. I'm wearing my Samurai Jack shirt right now, and this is what I wanted to see. I
got my Jack poster over there, and I got my Jack shirts in that thing behind me. So it really didn't strike me until later how much I hated that ending. Because, I kind of wanted to just let it go, because it was like, at least it got an ending. You know, I wanted to let it go, but no, now that I've had more time to think about it, it's like, not only does it create ridiculous paradoxes, like, why are his parents young in the end? Doesn't make,
that's what I was wondering as well. Like, why aren't his parents old? Like, wasn't his father super skinny? And he was, exactly. Why are they young again? I completely agree with you. And at first, I was okay with Ashi. You know, maybe this could have been an interesting new generation villain and I liked on how, Ashi represented what Jack could have been. They're basically similar. So basically, they were both raised to do what they had to do. And if Ashi would have been the second main antagonist, I think that would have been amazing. And agree, have the final ending be either Jack dying or something a lot of people wanted. I don't know what your thoughts on it is, but I wanted Jack to not go back to the past. I wanted him to stay in the future because a lot of people, some reviewers that I've watched, I don't know about you, but they brought up that Jack is basically getting something that we as humans can't get. He actually got to go back to the past and see and spend time with his family again. That is something that we all have wanted to do for a long time, but unfortunately we can't, and we accept it, and we move on, and we embrace what we have now. Jack, in my opinion, should have either done that, or just take the best of both worlds. Like, have Jack nearly die, but have him accept that I'm here where I need to be. I don't need to go back to the past. I'm happy to die for what I have now. Like, what were your thoughts on that?
Okay, well, no, I don't think he should have gone back to the past, because it negates the entire series that we've watched, which really pisses me off.
Absolutely.
What I think, if I had total control over it, what I would have done is I would have had Jack fight to the death in the future to secure the future's safety for all the people that he's met, all the people he helped, and everything like that. And as he's dying, then he gets to go back to the past. He goes back and he gets to his parents who are there, and he dies in his parents' arms.
Yes.
And he's like, did I save the world? You know, so he didn't change the past. Like, the past still happens and everything, because he's not there to change the past or anything. So that actually would tie up some of the paradoxes too. So he fights for the safety of the future, and then because he goes to the past, he can still be with his parents at the end when he dies, but he's not there to influence the future. You know, so the whole future with Aku still happens. It kind of creates this causality loop.
Yes, I like that.
So I think that would have been better. So Jack gets his hero's end. Aku is destroyed. The future is safe. All these people that he saved are, you know, still there and exist and everything. Because, with this ending, none of the things that we cared about, nothing that happened anymore. Mm-hmm. He just goes back and is like, well, die, Aku. And it's like, well, okay.
Yes, I agree. I watched it live. I'm sorry. I watched it live, and I felt like I got half of what I wanted, but I didn't get the rest. So I definitely agree. Like, the final end that has been teased between Aku and Jack, like, their relationship, only one of them was going to survive or die. And I felt like the final episode should have given us that. But of course, use the ideas that you just said. But just give us something that doesn't make Jack alone, because you brought up a good point. Like, what was the point? And I like Ashi, but I agree. What was the point of me getting attached to this character if she was just going to die in the end? Like, I hate it when shows do that.
I think what would have been a better idea is taking the idea I had where Jack goes back to the past for one last parting goodbye with his parents before he dies, is he gives his sword to Ashi and says, take my sword and make sure everyone remembers what we did to save the future. You know, because he was traveling for 50 years to save the future. So yeah, he gives his sword to Ashi, which gives Ashi an actual point to exist. So she gets to stay in the future and carry on Jack's legacy. You know, because she could have like a line of like heroic children, kind of like a Legend of Zelda sort of thing, to just create this like a lineage of heroes who protect the future from evil, kind of thing, using Jack's sword. And Jack gets to go back and have his final moment with his family like he wanted to, because all he wanted to do was go back to his homeland, to his family, and be happy. He didn't want to get married or anything. That was never established. He just wanted to be with his family. So he goes back and he's like bleeding. That's honestly how I thought it was going to be. He's bleeding. He's nearly dead. And then he approaches these two figures in the distance and he thinks they're like enemies, but then it turns out it's his parents. They come out and he's gone back far enough in the past that his parents are still together. Like, this is before Aku. You know, and he goes back and he basically is like, he dies in their arms and he says to them, you know, the future is safe, so that his parents know that if they send away Jack as a child to go through all this training and everything, they know based on that event that what they're doing is the right thing to do. That eventually this plan that they have will succeed.
Yes,
so they're that way they're willing to give up their child to, you know, have him be tortured basically for years of his life. They know that because they've seen future Jack, that he died with him, that he said the future is safe, that'll work. That's how I would do the ending. So both Aku and Jack die. He tells his parents that it'll work, which sets off this whole chain of events, the whole causality loop, and Ashi takes his sword and carries on Jack's legacy through the future.
Yes.
That's how I would do the ending.
Yes, absolutely. Again, I've seen a lot of people suggest how it should have ended, not to be confused with the show. But yes, I agree. I definitely agree that, yes, that is how I thought it should have ended. And still to this day, maybe Gendy Tartakovsky, because this was supposed to be the original ending 10, maybe 13 years ago. But for some reason, I guess Gendy Tartakovsky, which, again, it's fine. I understand. But it would have been nice, I agree, if maybe he would have been able to go all out. Because it was on Adult Swim, so obviously back then this could not have happened, but now that it was on Adult Swim, yes, you can show this. You can really show this emotional moment. I agree. But again, I mean, well, now that Samurai Jack has ended, and again, regardless of what we think of it, I've been wanting to ask you, like, okay, so basically now that you've seen the show end, like, what are your overall thoughts on another show coming back and getting an ending that you feel it deserves? Or do you just feel like one show is enough because it deserved it more, regardless if the ending was questionable at best?
I don't know. If someone is willing to bring it back and end it properly, I have no qualms. I don't care what it is. I would never step in front of someone's attempt to finish what they started, because I if you've ever watched one of my live streams, like the last game live stream I did, I went on this massive spiel about how you need to finish what you start. Like, it doesn't matter how many times you fail, but you just have to finish what you start. Like, I went on this like fucking 20-minute rant. It was crazy. I went back and watched a bit of it and I was like, I sound like a crazy person. But yeah, so I would never stand in front of someone. I would never disparage someone's attempts to finish what they start. Even if it sucks ass, I would never say like, wow, you shouldn't have done that. You know, that's why I wasn't so mad at the Samurai Jack ending at first, because I was like, you did it. You came back and you finished it, and I'm proud of you. But then once I had time to think about it, I was like, well, it was shit, but I'm glad you finished it regardless. Yeah, so I would never stand in someone's way. The only reason... Sorry, I have to have shit in my hands so I can concentrate.
It's okay, no problem, no problem.
The only reason I would ever maybe stop someone is if they hadn't done their research, you know, if
Right.
it was like it was some random yabo who's like, I want to finish what this guy started, but I'm gonna take it in a whole new direction. It's like, fuck you. You know what? Just do it the way it needs to be done.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, so basically just putting like an ending in the hands of someone who doesn't care or doesn't know is the wrong thing to do. You have to get at least someone who knows what they're doing and has, again, respect. It all comes back to that keyword, respect. It's like, if you don't have respect, I will garner instant hatred for you. Like, it doesn't matter how good it is. If you have no respect for it, fuck you.
Yes.
Maybe it's because I'm Canadian. I'm all about the respect. Like, I hate when people are disrespectful and rude. It's like if someone comes up to me, it's like, where are the napkins? It's like, fuck you, napkins. But if someone comes up, excuse me, where's the napkins? And, oh, they're just over there. You know, I don't work in the food industry, but I'm just saying, you know, if you get much more in life if you're respectful and polite to people, and if you just go up and it's like, I don't want to talk to the manager. This is a fucking, I can't believe this shit. It's like, no one wants to help you then. No one wants to be a part of your life.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Wow, yes, of course. It's like I said, you know, I agree with everything. I just have been doing nothing but agreeing with you, but again, very good points. But also, two last questions before we end off. One of the last questions is, okay, so now that you've basically reviewed how far you've come to where you are now, like, is there anything like really in the future that you're looking forward to, like if there's ever something that comes up on your radar, or if just you get the opportunity to experiment on something, like what do you look forward to doing on your YouTube channel? Or do you just plan on, you know, being a reviewer and a streamer, or do you just want to try and experiment with something else?
Well, someday I'd like to make my own movie. If I had the chance, like, that's all I want to do with life, is make cartoons and make movies.
Yes.
So
Yes.
if I had the time and the resources and the budget and everything, I would love to make a movie that's not about me, like, just not a movie about me, because, like, YouTuber movies are...
movie.
Huh? What?
Oh, no, I was saying an original movie of your own.
Yeah, because, like, YouTuber movies are notoriously shit. Like, even James Rolfe, who I have so much mad respect for, like, you have no idea how much respect I have for him, I don't like his movie. Like, I just think there's one gigantic flaw in it. Why wasn't it a story about James and Mike and Bootsy? Why did it have to be about this random, you know what, the like, what's his name, Cooper or whatever? He reminds me of the chocolate squirrel from Food Fight.
Yeah, like, oh god, yes, that movie.
Like, why is it so misogynistic? Why is it so weird? Like, it should, if it had been about James and Mike and Bootsy, sure, it would have had no female representation, but whatever, you know, it would have been like a long James and Mike play, or James and Mike Monday video. That would have been great. So I just think I think he missed the point of the nerd, kind of, because the nerd is like, he's got like something wrong with him. He's got like dissociative personality disorder, and there's no point. There's no like, there's no hint of that in the movie at all. Like, there's no bored James. There's no bullshit man. There's like, Mike is only in it for half a second basically, and it's like, come on, Mike is like half of what makes your channel so great. He should have been in it. Unless he didn't want to be in it, in which case it's like, okay, fine, that's fine. Yeah,
I understand that too, and I'm a huge James Rolfe fan myself. I've been watching his videos since 2008, and again, I agree. Like, yes, when he got the opportunity to make his own movie, I thought, okay, here's an opportunity to do something that you've always wanted to do. Like, maybe expand and keep something that made the nerd great. Like, I understand he wanted to make it because, in his opinion, B movies are few and far between, nearly dead at this point. So I understand what the attempt at that movie was, but I agree with you. It should have been something more than either a documentary about the nerd, maybe, or a long let's play, or just something that is what you basically know your fans want, not something that you want.
Yeah, like I love the idea. I love the idea of the movie. In fact, when the nerd character gets to be the nerd, that's when it's the best. It's like when they're at the arcade and what's her name shows him ET2 and he just throws up all over her. That is like the funniest scene in the movie, and it actually involves puke. So that's like huge for me to say. Like I'm not good with puke. I have a massive phobia of like vomit and food poisoning.
Yeah,
but I can watch that scene because it's so funny, and that to me is what the nerd is just ridiculous, like over the top, gross humor kind of thing.
Yes. Like,
but then when it tries to be like, you know, when it tries to be like a weird romance story, when it tries to be like food fight with Cooper and he's all just like, yeah, bro, and it's like, why does the nerd have a job? I don't understand. Like that's just weird.
The nerd is the type of character you wouldn't expect to have a job.
I know he's too crass and crazy and rude to be to have a job.
Yeah, and why does he have? And my question in that movie was, why does the nerd take crap from his boss? Shouldn't he be like, fuck you, boss, I'm out?
Yeah, that's the thing, is the nerd character is a guy who just doesn't take shit from anyone. It's odd to see someone misinterpret their own character so badly.
Yes.
But it really hurts me like hell to criticize someone I have nothing but respect for. But I've watched the movie a few times and I'm just kind of like, you know, mad super props to you for finishing it, for doing what you wanted to do. I have nothing but like applause for that. But it's definitely the best YouTuber movie I've seen, but it's still not that good.
Absolutely.
Like, fucking Shane Dawson's movie and Fred and like actually one of the smaller YouTubers that I know, Jambariki, he's making one, or at least trying to make a movie. I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm willing to bet it's probably not going to be very good. Just because you're a good YouTuber doesn't mean you're a good filmmaker, which is why I have respect for Ralph the Movie Maker, because he does both. Like he tries to do YouTube and make movies. Yeah, so basically what I'm saying is that for my channel in the future, I would like to make my own movie that's not about me, which isn't to say I haven't had an idea for an EyeofSol movie. It would actually be a prequel. To be honest, I have kind of an idea, but I don't think I'd ever do it, to be honest, because it's just, there's such an opportunity for it being shit there that I just kind of don't want to bother. But, you know, I have like tons of ideas for movies, tons of ideas for cartoons, so many of them that I would just like to delve into my own projects instead of just always being Sol, you know, because always being Sol can be tiring sometimes.
Yes, of course. Completely relatable and understandable, but as a fan of yours and hopefully as a friend, I would just want to say that I really do hope that that happens. But even if a movie were to happen in your future, honestly, I would not doubt that you would do everything in your power to make it stand out from the rest, and hopefully maybe just make it something that you and your fans want, instead of misinterpreting your character like James Wolfe did, but still trying to do what you can under the given circumstances.
Yeah, well, I'll just give you this kind of like framework of the idea I have. This is sort of a half of an idea, okay? It's not even a fully fledged idea, but I'll just say, so the idea would be a prequel to the show. Like originally in the show, I had the history book, which is how I told the, you know, the history of the shows before I had the interludes. So it would be a story about getting the history book and basically just having an adventure. Like there would obviously have to be some sort of goal, which I haven't thought of yet, but it would be half live action and half animated. So all the segments inside the history book, like we'd go inside the history book basically. It would kind of be like the Page Master, but not terrible. They would all be animated. So it would be like going through different like animated worlds kind of thing. Sort of, yeah, like Wreck-It Ralph meets Page Master, but not shit. And with no Macaulay Culkin. So that's kind of like the half-formed idea. But that's the thing, is making a part animated movie would be really expensive. And
yes, of course.
Well, making any movie is expensive. But like the live-action parts, I could just film. You know, that's not that bad. I would need some resources and a team and whatever, but I could just film that now, to be honest. But getting the animated parts would be really hard and really expensive. So that's kind of one reason why I haven't really thought about it much. So that's sort of the kind of half idea I have. Because if it was a prequel, yeah, sure, I'm older than when I started. But, you know, if the nerd can go back and do his videos from, like, 10 years ago again with, like, his Mega Man reviews, then who cares, you know? No one cares.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. Wow. Well, my last question before we end it is, okay, so what is your advice to anybody who wants to pretty much either be a streamer on Twitch or who wants to review cartoons and all of that in the future. Like, do you have any advice on how to go about that, or what they should do and what they shouldn't do?
Okay, I've been asked this a lot, actually. A lot of people have messaged me, and this is the advice I always have, and this is what I was saying, I was ranting about earlier. Just do it. And I know I sound like, do it with Shia LaBeouf, but I'm serious. The resources people have nowadays to create things that they want to do are so much better than they've ever been. That there's absolutely no excuse not to do it. Look, when I started, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I put a camera. You know what I did? I don't know if I still have it anymore. I built a tripod for I had my dad's old tripod from like the 80s. I built myself a tray for my Samsung Galaxy Note 4 that damaged the screen, actually. I put it in there, and I screwed it onto my tripod, and I filmed the video, which is why it's tilted at first. It's a little bit tilted. So if I can cobble together some shit to make a video, then anybody can. So if you have the determination, if you have enthusiasm, and you have a good idea, just fucking do it. Like I said, you can fail as many times as you want. You can being successful is just running through a gauntlet of failures, you know. So don't be afraid of failure. If people don't like what you're doing at first, try something new, you know. Or if you are confident in what you're doing, even if people don't like it, just keep doing it. It'll catch on eventually, you know. So I just think that the world doesn't need another person who's just a wisher, you know, because there are so many people who are just, oh, I wish I could have this great vacation. Oh, I wish I could have this cool job. Oh, I wish I could have this. I wish I could have that. It's like, well, why don't you fucking do it then? The world isn't made of wishes. It's made of dishes. Dishes that pile up when you do the work, okay? So just fucking do it, all right? Yeah, nowadays there's no excuse. The only reason I could say you have an excuse is if you're like a quadruple amputee and you literally can't operate a camera.
Right.
That's a good excuse in my book. But other than that, there's no excuse. Just fucking do it, okay?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. Yes.
Oh, it has to be legal, though. Like, if you're stealing other people's content, then don't do that. Do it in a way that doesn't make you feel like a bad person.
Yes, I think that goes without saying. Definitely. Definitely. Well, wow. Again, great points. I actually learned some new things that, that's what I've missed doing about this. I love learning new things about YouTubers and just things to improve on my own. So once again, thank you, Sol, for being here. Thank you so much for agreeing to come down here. It was a huge honor. It was a great experience, and honestly, I would be honored to have you on again at some point in the future if your schedule is fine. And just thank you for being here. Please, everyone, it would mean a lot to Sol. Please go down. I'll leave a link to her channel. I'll even leave a link to her Patreon, because please support her on Patreon. Give her the support she needs, she deserves. She works very hard, and she is just a wonderful human being. That's all I can say. She is just a wonderful human being who works hard as hell.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
No, you're welcome. It was an honor. So thank you all so much for watching this. We both hoped you had a great time, and if you enjoyed this first episode, then I'll be back to do more, because it's like Sol just said, just do it. Like, I'm a doer. I'm not a wisher. I'm a fucking doer. So that's what I'll always be. So yeah, guys, if you enjoyed this, like, comment, subscribe, get a discussion going. And until then, we'll both see you next time on our own individual channels. This is Richard Core Kenobi saying, may the force be with you all. Bye, guys.
See you later.